The sun dipped below the trees, shadows grew long. A young hiker, separated from his group, shivered.
I was alone. The forest seemed to press in around me, the trees like looming giants. The air grew cold, a damp chill that seeped into my bones. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sounded unnaturally loud, amplified in the stillness. I pushed on, desperate to find my way back to the trail, but the woods seemed to twist and turn, leading me in circles. I was hopelessly lost.
Then he saw it. A faint light flickering through the trees. Relief flooded him. He ran towards it, hope blossoming in his chest. As he drew closer, he heard a voice, soft and low, whispering his name.
But the voice wasn't coming from the light. It was coming from right behind him.
She sat alone by the campfire, the flames casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees. The forest was alive with the night, a symphony of chirps, hoots and rustling leaves. A twig snapped. She looked up, heart pounding. Something moved in the darkness, just beyond the reach of the firelight.
She called out, her voice trembling, but there was no answer. The sounds came again, closer this time, followed by the soft whisper of her name.
Terror gripped her, cold and paralyzing. She was being watched. She scrambled to her feet, grabbing her flashlight, its beam a fragile defense against the encroaching darkness. She swept the light across the trees, her heart pounding in her chest, and then she saw them. Hundreds of glowing eyes staring at her from the darkness. The whispering grew louder, surrounding her, closing in. He stumbled through the woods, rain soaking through his clothes, the storm turning the path into a muddy river. He was cold, lost and utterly alone. Lightning flashed, illuminating a dilapidated wooden cabin nestled amongst the trees, its windows dark and empty. He hesitated, a shiver running down his spine. But the storm raged on, and he had nowhere else to go. He pushed open the creaking door.
The air inside was heavy with the smell of damp wood and something else. Something unsettling. I stepped inside, my hand trembling as I reached for my lighter. The flickering flame revealed a dusty room, cobwebs hanging from every corner. And in the center of the room, a wooden table, and on it, a single flickering candle.
He hadn't lit that candle.
Lost in the sprawling woods, she wandered aimlessly, the dense canopy of trees blocking out the moon and stars. The only light came from her phone's dying battery, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness.
Then I saw them, flickering lights dancing in the distance, beckoning me forward.
Hope surged through her. Maybe it was a ranger station or a campsite. Maybe she wasn't alone after all. She stumbled towards the lights, her legs heavy with exhaustion. But as she drew closer, a sense of unease settled over her.
The lights seemed to move, flitting and wavering in a way that seemed unnatural, almost alive.
The forest around her grew colder, the air thick with an oppressive silence. The lights pulsed ahead, their glow intensifying, casting eerie, elongated shadows that danced and writhed.
I stopped, fear gripping my heart. The lights were not a source of rescue. They were a warning.
He checked his phone again, the empty signal bars mocking his desperation. Lost in the woods, night falling fast. He was utterly alone. Panic gnawed at the edges of his mind. The forest had grown quiet, the usual nighttime symphony of insects replaced by an eerie silence. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath.
I felt a chill run down my spine, a primal fear settling in my gut. I pulled out my phone again, hoping for a miracle. Still no signal. I tried to remember which way I came, but all directions looked the same.
The trees pressed in, their branches like grasping claws, the shadows deepening as darkness descended. And then he heard it. A faint humming sound, low and rhythmic, vibrating through the air. He looked around, heart pounding, but saw nothing.
I brought the phone closer to my face, squinting at the screen. It wasn't the lack of signal that made me jump back in terror. It was the distorted reflection staring back at me.
She tripped over a root, her ankle twisting beneath her. Pain shot up her leg, hot and blinding. She lay there, gasping for breath, fear washing over her in waves. She was hurt, alone, and night was coming. The forest around her was alive with the sounds of twilight, the chirping of crickets, the rustling of leaves.
But beneath it all, I heard another sound, faint and distant. Someone calling for help. I tried to call out, but my voice came out as a strangled whisper. I had to reach them. Maybe they could help me.
She pulled herself up, leaning heavily on a nearby tree, and limped towards the sound. The terrain was rough, the undergrowth thick and tangled. She stumbled on, driven by fear and a desperate hope. The cries for help grew louder, closer.
I pushed aside a curtain of leaves, expecting to find another lost hiker. But what I saw made me scream, a primal sound of terror that echoed through the trees.